Shahid Bhagat Singh had a watch which was given to him by his mentor Sachindranath Sanyal. It had been given to Sachindranath Sanyal along with a Mauser pistol by Rash Bihari Bose before he escaped to Japan. The pistol was won from a consignment of 50 Mausers and 46,000 cartridges that was stolen in a daring heist on 26 August 1914 from British arms retailer Rhoda and Company of Kolkata. The entire consignment was stolen on its way from customs house to the company's warehouse and spirited away on a bullock cart. The ringleaders of the heist were Srishpal, Haridas Datta, Khagen Das, and Anukul Mukherjee, helped by Prabhu Dayal Himmat Singha and Hanuman Prasad Poddar. The consignment was divided up in the house of Bhujang Bhushan Dhar. Some pistols and cartridges were immediately distributed to revolutionaries, while others were hidden in the warehouses owned by merchants like well-known industrialist Ghansham Das Birla. Had I heard this story before? Had you? If it weren't for this book, Revolutionaries by Sanjeev Sanyal, I wouldn't have known about it ever. It's time to switch on the reading lamp for the last installment of our Republic Day special Nationalist series. Hello, I'm Asavri, and on this channel, I review books and talk about reading in general. Shall we have a look at the details of today's book?
Facts and Figures.
Revolutionaries by Sanjeev Sanyal is a non-fiction book, first published in 2023 by HarperCollins India. 364 pages long, available in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle editions. Audiobooks available on Audible India and Storytel. The link to buy the book is in the first pinned comment and in the description below. Now, the actual contents of the book, but no spoilers, no worry, just
The cover story.
the title of the book is self-explanatory. Revolutionaries, the other story of how India won its freedom. It's the story that we have never read about in our textbooks. We read about our revolutionaries in bits and pieces. Whether it's Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Khudiram Bose, Veer Savarkar, the impression that is created is that theirs were individual, disconnected acts of heroism. In reality, the revolutionaries were part of a large network that sustained armed resistance against the British Empire for over a half of a century. They not only created a wide network inside India but also established nodes in Britain, France, Ireland, Germany, Italy, Persia, Russia, the United States, Canada, Japan, Thailand, Singapore. At various points in time, they received official support and recognition from the governments of some of these countries. Within the country, India, besides the general populace, they also enjoyed widespread support from the more visible political leaders of their times. The book begins with the story of the heist that I talked about in the introduction. Over the next 360 pages, distributed in 8 chapters, what we read is a history filled with intrigue, swashbuckling adventure, espionage, diabolical treachery, and unpredictable twists of fate. Let me tell you why I believe this book should be a staple of every Indian's library.
Speaking my mind.
It can be said that the armed freedom struggle began in the 1890s. An epidemic of bubonic plague spread in India, in Pune, in 1896. Walter Rand was appointed as the plague commissioner of Pune. The British wanted to eradicate the plague as quickly as possible because it had an adverse effect on their commercial interests. Rand was a sadistic tyrant who misused his post and looted innocent Indians and humiliated women. Lokmanya Tilak also bitterly criticized him and the government in his newspaper Kesari. On 22nd June 1897, the Chapekar brothers, Balkrishna and Damodar, assassinated Walter Rand and his lieutenant Ayerst in Pune. They were caught after their friends, the Dravid brothers, betrayed them for the sake of a cash prize. The informants were hunted down and killed by the third Sapekar brother, Vasudev. All three Sapekar brothers were hanged to death. From this point in history till the naval uprising of 1946, the book covers the entire history of the armed resistance. The naval uprising started on the 18th of February 1946 and lasted for 4 days. This was not a mutiny as the British would like to portray it, but a full scale revolt by the Royal Indian Navy. About 20,000 sailors, 78 ships, and 21 shore establishments in Bombay, Karachi, Madras, Calcutta, Vishakhapatnam, and the Andaman Islands joined the strike. In Bombay, the Maratha Brigade, deployed by the British, fired at the sailors, taking care not to hit any targets. In Karachi, the Gurkha and Baloch regiments refused to fire on the sailors. A generation ago, these same regiments had been deployed by General Dyer to fire at innocent citizens in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Things had changed. The naval uprising was put down by the British, but it is rightly called the last war of independence because it was the final nail in the coffin of the British Empire. They realized that they had lost control over India. In March 1946, the cabinet mission arrived in India to discuss the transfer of power from the British government to the Indian political leadership. February, naval uprising. March, cabinet mission. But I don't remember reading a single word about the naval uprising in my history textbook. A few years ago, a few of us like minded friends took our children to visit the Wada or house of Sapekar brothers on 22nd June, the day Rand was assassinated. The house is now maintained as a memorial to the freedom fighters. There, we found out that the widows of Sapekar brothers never received any compensation or pension from the government. What is even more astounding and infuriating is that the family of the Dravid brothers, who betrayed the Sapekars to the British, not only received the cash prize but were paid a pension by the British, which was continued even after independence by the Indian government till about the 1960s. In Andaman, at the cellular jail, I saw with my own eyes the fetters that were used to bind prisoners. The prisoners sometimes had to wear them for months on end and were unable to sit down or even bend their legs. The food was full of stones and worms and insects. The prisoners worked at the oil mill in place of oxen more than 18 hours a day to extract oil. They were subjected to inhuman tortures like flogging and electrocution. Ullaskar Dutt, who was sent to the cellular jail for his role in the Alipur bomb case, lost his mental balance because of the brutal torture and repeated electrocutions. He spent months in a mental asylum. He had been engaged to Bipin Chandra Pal's daughter Leela before he was sent to Andaman. After waiting for him for 10 years with no news, she finally married someone else. After independence, when Ullaskar found that Leela was widowed and paralyzed from the waist down, he married her and they settled down in Silchar, Assam. I believe Ullaskar Dutt never held a political post after independence. The book mentions a few who turned informers for the British government. One such was the man who led the British to Chandrasekhar Azad, who shot himself with his one last remaining bullet after a fight so that he would not be taken alive. After independence, this informer became a famous Hindi author who wrote books glamorizing his own purported role in the freedom struggle and even won a Sahitya Akademi Award for his writing. This is why Sachindranath Sanyal wrote the book Bandi Jeevan based on his experiences in the cellular jail. Yes, he was the great uncle of Sanjeev Sanyal, the author of the current book. Sachindranath Sanyal was the only revolutionary to be sent to Andaman twice. First for the Gadar conspiracy and then for the Kakori conspiracy. He specifically said that he was writing this book not only to inspire future revolutionaries, but to leave a personal testimony so that in future a few chapters of Indian history can be written correctly. Our textbooks prove that his fears were justified. The Britishers had obvious reasons for suppressing the history of armed revolution. It was only the revolutionaries who were ever sent to cellular jail in the Andamans. The British had no interest in making the atrocities committed in the cellular jail public knowledge. What about our own historians? By the time India became independent, most of the leaders of the revolutionaries had already died at the hands of the British. Those that remained, like the soldiers of the Indian National Army, were conveniently sidelined and forgotten. The official history was written to emphasize the role of the political leadership that remained. If you are genuinely interested in the history of a freedom struggle, you must read this book. And here are three reasons why. 1. It fills the conspicuous gaps in our textbooks. It is ludicrous to believe that Britishers, who controlled a quarter of the world at the peak of their power, were driven out of our country simply through peaceful non-violent resistance. 2. It gives you a comprehensive yet concise history of the armed freedom struggle from start to finish. It connects all the dots. And 3. Sanjeev Sanyal's matter of fact writing. The amount of information that is contained in this single book is mind boggling. The writing is compact and devoid of histrionics. The drama is in the facts. Sanjeev Sanyal puts the facts in front of you and lets you draw your own conclusions. This book needs to be read by all Indians. Time for the LINEDSCAPE rating of today's book.
LINEDSCAPE Rating.
Up there is a link to the video that explains my LINEDSCAPE book rating system. All the parameters for today's book are a 9 or 10, with a total score of 95 over 100, which makes it a perfect 5-star book. And now it's time to put my thoughts.
In a nutshell.
Revolutionaries by Sanjeev Sanyal is the part of the history of our freedom struggle that is missing from our textbooks. The author has no intentions of trivializing the role of non-violent struggle, but rather to give the armed revolutionaries their rightful place in history. This is the last book in my Nationalist series this year, leading up to the Republic Day. If you missed the previous 2 episodes, you'll find the first one about the book on Lachit Borphukan here, and the second one about Brave Hearts of Bharat by Vikram Sampath over here. Both links are also in the description below the video. Before I go, remember I upload a fresh episode every Friday. If you liked this episode, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell icon so you never miss an episode. And please share with your friends and family. The more, the merrier. This is Asaveri, signing off for now. Until the next time, have fun under the reading lamp. Switch on, read on. And Happy Republic Day. Jai Hind.